Hey fam, it's your girl Nachi, and I'm here with.
Damaris, also known as the Bronx Deepak Chopra.
All of that.
I mean, he used to be a doctor. Not that I am one, but
Right. You
I'm
play
a
one on
doctor of me.
TV.
But right, I play one on TV. No, I am not a doctor. Don't come for me, please.
Right. But speaking of television, I just have a question for our listeners. Have you ever noticed the number of commercials, pharmaceutical commercials that are out there? It's almost like every other commercial, a pharmaceutical based one, where they're just peddling their meds, seeking out those who are vulnerable, who are suffering from chronic diseases or ailments. And they sort of throw out this little magic pill. You have this? I have a little magic pill for you. But just a disclaimer, there's like 100,000 side effects to watch out for, but it will
Come on
take
now.
care of this one symptom or two symptom or whatever disease that you have. So that's what we're going to get into today. We want to talk about the origins of allopathic medicine, how it influences medical schools, and even doctors who are prescribing these medications. I cannot tell you the number of times I've been to a physician office and there's a pharmaceutical rep either bringing lunches and
Mm,
treats and all of that
come on now.
just so that they can get these physicians to prescribe a particular medication. So we are going to get into all of that, and I want Damaris to go ahead and kick this off because this is going to be a real good one.
It sure is. Thank you, sister. While I know the title speaks specifically about Big Pharma, and we want to get into that, but I think it's really important before we just dive into how Big Pharma has its presence right now in our country and in our lives to really kind of lay the foundation of what was the groundwork that led up to what we know Big Pharma to be today. And that's why I think it's really important that when we start to talk about that, is to start with the story of one particular individual. And this gentleman is a very famous, successful businessman, American businessman that pretty much is a household name, across cultures, but everyone knows who John D. Rockefeller is. Even if you don't know specifically what he's done, you know the name Rockefeller.
Yeah, you definitely know that
It
name.
is an American dynasty name, and for good reason. So in 18, John D. Rockefeller, he either shut down or was able to acquire 90% of oil companies, forming a monopoly. And by the time 1911 rolled around, the government's like, nah, kid, you're doing too much. You violating some antitrust laws. And now we got to force your one gigantic company to break up into multiple independent countries. So they broke up his monopoly. And in doing so, this is a businessman that is about control. And you see that in the types of businesses that he started and how he went about his business. Obviously, Standard Oil was an example of that. But then he started to move into other areas and other sectors. Part of that was turning his access to petrochemicals into pharmaceuticals. And and when you think about why and how he got into it, and his approach to it was very much in addressing the threat of natural health or natural health approaches to ailments. And so he used what he had at his discretion, his resources, which were petrochemicals, right? And the fact that today, still,
And are these petrochemicals like derived from petroleum? Is
yes,
that what
yes,
that
and
is?
that's what the petro and petrochemical stands for. Yeah. So basically, all of our pharmaceuticals are are um, are comprised of petrochemicals, right?
Mm.
So they are broken down, and you guys could read into the science of that. I'm not getting into that, but there's so much that comes with what we're going to discuss today. I do want to hear from our listeners about what rabbit hole you eventually eventually want me to go down, because there were so many paths, but I had to keep this, 50 to 60 minutes.
Right.
Okay. I know attention spans are short these days. Nobody wants to hear me going on for 2 hours about, okay, I get it. But anyway, um, yeah, so he's like, I have petroleum. We have these petrochemicals. Yeah, let's make some pharmaceuticals. I mean, that's in a nutshell. Don't
Right.
quote me on it. All right, don't be stupid. But like I said, most pharmaceuticals come from petrochemicals, and they're a combination of like these acids and anhydrides used to make things like novocaine, antihistamine, as well as sedatives, tranquilizers, decongestants, antibacterial soaps. So all those things, yeah, that we use every day. That's
Hmm.
over the counter, as well as
Yeah.
behind the counter, that are prescribed medication. And this I picked up directly because I like my sources, Nachi.
Yes, I
Y'all be,
know.
y'all not gonna catch me out there. I like my sources.
Yes. You always do your research.
And that line about most pharmaceuticals come from petrochemicals comes from the National Library of Science, or I'm sorry, the National Library of Medicine, which can be found online within the National Institute of Health, which is a government agency. So
Mhm.
the NIH, which I think it's Fauci that used to be head of the NIH, just so people could make those connections of like what
Your
agencies I'm
best
talking about.
friend.
Yeah, they're not made up. Okay, it's a real agency. Um, so fast forward. Let me just get through this. What Rockefeller does is, we've already shared with you with other industries like big food. Remember the sugar industry? They hired some researchers, some doctors to fund, and they funded a study to show the health of sugar. Well, he did something similar. Rockefeller did something similar. He with the Carnegie Foundation, so the Rockefeller and Carnegie Foundation funded this study by Flexner, and it's called the Flexner Report, to study the medical school curriculum, right? Yeah, he said,
Why
I'm
is
going
that?
to, he said,
Who are you?
I'm
Who
going
are
to
you?
study the medical schools and their curriculum. And we'll get into why. Which, and this report, the Flexner Report, single handedly changed the medical schools and the face of Western medicine as we know it. It swayed the government to use allopathic medicine to treat diseases. And when we say allopathic medicine, we mean things like pharmaceuticals, moving away from medicines that were used for thousands of years, herbs and other plant
Mhm.
derived medicines, moving away from that and labeling that as alternative, and moving towards these highly addictive, high side effect drugs from the allopathic world. And that became the standard. So
That's
you understand
crazy.
how, right.
And what year was this? What year was this?
So this was after 1911, after he
Oh,
was
okay.
found to be
Mhm.
the antitrust, and then it was like
Okay.
somewhere in the early 1900s to 1920s, where
Mhm.
like there's this report that comes out, and then
Mhm.
his influence with the government to then have like this one, the American Medical Association, to define how all medical schools, what the curriculum should be for all medical schools.
That
So
is crazy.
yes, funded by him. Now, why, right?
This
Again,
mega
this is
rich guy.
right. He's like, I'm bored. No, he
Yes.
just wants more control. But this
Mhm.
is when you have people that feel, because they have so much money, it is their, they feel entitled to now control the masses, right? If you
Mhm.
will.
Mhm.
So that's the history and genesis of like the medical schools, and how the curriculum was then redefined and standardized, but standardized based on allopathic medicine versus the medicine that doctors beforehand were using in getting healing properties derived from herbs and plants. And that was erased from medical textbooks through this Flexner Report, through the influence of
Right.
Rockefeller.
To now where people look at it as, "Oh, that's just woo-woo
Uh-huh.
medicine." That's not
Yeah.
real
No,
medicine.
that's
Yeah.
how people survived for
Mhm.
thousands, for millennia.
Mhm.
So when we get into Big Pharma, I thought it was so interesting that I came across, of course, some information, and it was like the word origin of pharmacy alone is interesting. Do you know the history of the
No,
origin of the word?
no. But
So,
tell us, tell us.
yes, yes, is derived from, and I'm probably mispronouncing this, but who cares? Y'all figure it out. Derived from pharmakeia, the Greek word for sorcery.
Hmm.
Child.
let me let me
Right.
convince you. Let me convince you otherwise.
No, it gets better. It's not just a
Let
Greek
me
word for
work my
sorcery.
magic.
Right, right.
That's the
So,
real black magic.
okay, and they want to be like, oh, you taking those herbs and roots. Mm, no, it's those demon names you name those pharmaceutical drugs. Probably summoning up. Let me stop. You're not summoning demons by the weird ass names of these drugs. But no, but really. But back to the origin of the word, Nachi. Come on, stay focused. It's also a healing or harmful medicine, a drug, or poisonous potion. Like those are all kinds of part of the
Hmm.
definition. And I was
Hmm.
like, wow, that is so fitting. Yes, it can be healing, but also harmful.
Yes,
Holy shit.
yes.
I was like, facts. Okay. I'm like, I'm not making this up. Look it up. And so, what's further interesting to understand why Big Pharma has so much power in our country, it is the biggest lobbying effort than any other industry. Now, for those that don't understand or are not familiar with the term lobbying, right? I first became familiar with the concept of lobbying when I was in college. I took one course with he was a lobbyist, and so he was an adjunct
Hmm.
professor. He
Hmm.
taught this class. It was really fascinating. And I was like, wow, this really happens. So basically, what a lobbyist will do is that they represent either an industry or a company, and they try to gain, favor with various Congress members so that they can influence and push laws that favor that industry or a company, usually an
Hmm.
industry. Companies will be part of an industry group so that they can so that that lobbying group can represent the interests of, let's say, all financial
Hmm.
firms, which those lobbies do exist. So there's lobbies for, obviously, for pharmaceutical companies, and they're the biggest lobbying effort.
Right,
So
because they
that
have deep pockets.
they have deep pockets, so they influence. Guess what? That includes that idea of paying for campaigns, donating, having these, private dinner conversations with your
Hmm.
your the elected politician that's supposed to your local official that's supposed to represent you and your interests. Well,
Right.
they're going to represent the interests of the people that actually pay for their campaigns directly and in
Yep.
huge sums. Not only are they doing that, obviously, within Congress and within the government, but as you already mentioned at the opening, directly with physicians. You
Hmm.
go into a doctor's office, and like you said, you'll see a representative there.
Yes.
I mean, they're peddling drugs. I mean, they can be called a drug dealer, not in the street sense, but
But
technically,
technically they are. Technically they are.
technically, no
They're
disrespect
they're
to those
they're pushing
pharmaceutical
it.
reps, but you pushing something, right? Okay.
Yes, and they pushing it hard.
And not only that, Nachi, they also actually they fund some of the medical school training programs. So I almost feel like they're almost training their staff as well outside.
Hmm.
That's like
Hmm.
third party staff. These these doctors.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so, as I've mentioned before, previous episodes, always follow the money. Am I right, sister?
Yes. When you follow the money, you'll find out
You'll get your
what their
answer.
real purpose is.
Yes, you'll get your
What's the
answer.
underlining reason behind it all?
That's it. That's it. And so another interesting fact that I came across was that how many, I'll ask you, actually going to position this as a question. How many US adults do you think currently take prescribed medication?
How many US adults?
Yeah.
Huh. I'm gonna say 1 out of 3 adults take a
Okay, so
prescribed
you're
medication.
saying 33%, a third.
Yeah.
Well, it's actually 66.
Oh. Mm.
66% of all US adults take prescribed medication. Let that sink in. We're going to leave a pause.
That is amazing.
You know where I found that? Because for resources, because I'm also going to put all the links in, in the notes, georgetown.edu
Mm-hmm.
in an article.
66%.
Yep.
But if you like going back to what I said, if you look at all this commercial, so if you think about it,
Mm-hmm.
a person is watching their television show on cable TV, they see this commercial of someone managing whatever chronic disease that they have, um or they're trying to lose weight or whatever the case may be, and they're like, we got this drug for you, speak to your doctor on your next visit. And literally these people will go to their physicians and say, hey, can you put me on this, because I'm trying to, you know I heard that this is really good. And where they heard that from is through the commercial, right? So it's just like they're brainwashing you, because literally that's what it is. I mean, you think about, even like when you think about how they uh the type of commercials that they show children when they're younger, with the toys and everything. They get them enticed. It's enticing enough for them to say, oh, I want this. I need to get this because look how happy that person is. Look how
Yep.
they're living their life. Because it's always, somebody frolicking through
Oh,
the
yeah. Living
fields.
their best
Like,
life.
yes.
Meanwhile, they're like side effects diarrhea.
Yeah.
What? I'm sorry. What?
Or some other fatal shit. Like you may have a heart attack. Like what?
Yeah. They're like rare and fatal, but you might get a brain hemorrhage. What? I'm sorry. What are you talking about?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is that stat is crazy to me
It
personally,
is. It is crazy.
and it's
Because that's
scary.
more than half of adults in this country that's on a
Hmm.
prescribed medication.
And I think what gets lost is that when you look up a definition, they'll say like, pharmaceuticals are either meant to cure disease or to treat symptoms, and all this stuff. And I just find more often than not, they're addressing symptoms versus actually curing anything.
Yes.
And that to me is a problem, but it also makes sense from a business standpoint, right? The idea of they're here to maintain your disease. And I
Mhm.
know for some people that may sound very cynical of me, but I've just seen my mother be a victim to a doctor prescribing her medication to be
Mhm.
preventative, which actually ended up making her extremely sick.
Yep.
Like, it's just not a thing. I just trust in our bodies so much more.
And the fact that she was dealing with, and this is the other thing, she was dealing with all these side effects from that
Hmm.
medication, that none of the other doctors that ended up seeing her, and including her primary care physician,
Hmm.
ever looked to the medication as being the problem.
Never took the time.
They kept giving her the runaround and saying, I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is. But not once.
Meanwhile, if they just went to drugs.com and looked up the side effects of that particular medication, it literally spelled out exactly what she was going through.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and we had to go to our naturopathic family doctor to discover that, wow, it's
Mhm.
this high blood pressure medication that's causing her problems.
Mhm. Yep. Yep.
And so while there is also this sense of over medicalization, right? This disease mongering kind of thing that I feel that happens with pharmaceuticals. Because growing up, we didn't see any pharmaceutical commercials. And I mean, we're not
No.
ancient, but yes, we're older, but we ain't ancient like that. And then
Yeah.
now in the last 20 years, it's like the only commercials I see are pharmaceutical commercials or Wingstop commercials. And it's like, no disrespect to
Yeah.
Wingstop, but I'm
Yeah.
just saying, like, those are the two things. And it's
Yeah.
like, wait, what is happening
Yes.
here? And
Yeah.
So for
That's
me,
no lie.
there's a level of you're pushing all these medicines and you're fear mongering. You're like, you should worry now about shingles and all this stuff. Like, wait, what the
Yes.
fuck are you talking about? Let me talk
Yes.
about this with my doctor. And why are you telling me I need to now tell my doctor this is what he or she should
Mm-hmm.
prescribe to me? What?
Mm-hmm.
And
Yep.
so, but I get it, right? Because if you want to just step out of the emotion, this is about making profits and understanding that. And this is why, you know, when we think about the most recent medical crisis this country has gone through, and I won't name it because people become unhinged when you talk about it, but we were developing vaccines and doing all these things, these new medications to address this disease. And it's like, you're gonna tell me that in 4 months, less than 6 months, you're able to now come up with a vaccine that the whole world is suffering from? It's been fully vetted and all this good stuff. Look, yeah, I don't care about people taking a vaccine or not taking a vaccine.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And to me, it's not an anti-vax issue. It is an issue of medical freedom.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's it, point blank. And this is not even getting political. Again, I need people to get out of their feelings about things and just looking at things as they are. You cannot tell me in one breath that it is my body, and then in the next breath, it is not my body when it comes to some
Certain
medical,
things.
yeah,
Yeah.
certain
Mhm.
medicines that you want me to take. Like, that's just not a thing for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
I I move the same in integrity always.
No, that's right.
So if I say that this is how I want myself to be treated, then that's what I want for everyone else.
Right.
Not what fits the narrative. And I bring up vaccines in particular because there's one in particular that I think is kind of crazy. It's the Gardasil one, which is an HPV, supposedly prevents HPV. And a few years ago, the Baltimore Sun came out with an article about how Gardasil has been shown to not be safe nor effective. 3 countries have banned it: Japan, India, I forget the other one. You know what? Let me look at it right now. I have the article.
I had this nurse that I used to work with. She literally told me, she said, don't ever give that to your kids. She's
Mm,
like, don't. She's like, she warned me.
yeah,
She warned
it's
me.
yeah, it's India, France, and Japan.
And that
But there's an article specifically about that.
right, right.
That this HPV vaccine has been shown to be ineffective nor safe. Baltimore Sun article. And so, but do you understand that it's still allowed in the USA? It's still allowed in the US of A. And there are doctors and pediatricians that are pushing that on their parents for their
Yeah.
kids.
Yeah.
Again, if you want to look, we grew up, we were vaccinated. I mean, but we have like
Yeah.
12 vaccines. We don't have like 75 as they do now.
Right,
And
right.
the whole point is, if you just step back and understand why the push for all of these vaccines, I mean, these are just money makers. This is like one of the biggest money makers for pharmaceutical companies are vaccines, period, point blank.
Mhm. Mhm.
So, however you feel about them, pro, anti, I don't give a fuck. I'm just telling you that's where they make a lot of their money. And they're not always necessarily safe and effective.
But it's going back to what you said. It's having that medical freedom, and for you to make an informed decision, you have to be knowledgeable
That's
of
it. Yes.
the information that's given to you. Don't go at face value because you saw a commercial or that your physician said, this is what's going on. Let me just write you a quick script. And you don't ask questions, you don't look into it, you don't, again, really become knowledgeable of what you're about to take on a daily basis that can change how your body operates and that can cause certain side effects. You have to understand all of that and still have that freedom to make that choice. It is your choice. And that's where we're kind of going with this.
Watch your mic, Nachi. You
Oh,
were hitting your
sorry.
mic.
Oh, sorry. It it's ultimately your choice
Mm-hmm.
when it
Yes,
comes to this, taking any type of medication.
because I'm not anti-vax. I'm anti you telling me what medicine I should take.
I know, right?
That's it. Like, I don't care.
Right.
You want 500 boosters, knock out. I do not care. What
Hmm.
I do care is when you try to impose what you want to do to me.
Right.
Because here's
Right.
the thing, Nachi can tell you, all of my family can tell you, I've been about my immune system
Yeah.
way before any global medical crisis. Let's be
Right.
very clear about that.
Right.
So what I don't need is anyone telling me how I should handle my body. Any entity outside of Damaris, the Bronx Deepak Chopra, telling me
Okay.
what I should do with my body when I know exactly what needs to happen with my body.
Right. Right. You know best.
I I do. The idea that anyone outside of me knows better about my body than me, maybe that works for a lot of other people, but I am highly, highly attuned to my body.
Hmm.
I know when
Hmm.
something's off. I know when something's not right.
Right.
I
Right.
don't need anybody to tell me when that's happening.
Right.
And
Yeah.
I don't need anybody to tell me how to take care of it because I've been doing it for, I'm not going to say how many years,
For many, many
but for
years.
many years. Many years, many
Many,
years.
many.
Look, the bottom line is that you being in good health is not in the interest of the pharmaceutical companies. I mean, like, that's just real talk. It is not in their best interest. They are a publicly a publicly traded company that are beholden to shareholders. Thereby, they're beholden to the bottom line.
Right.
They are here to make money. They are not a not-for-profit company. They are a for-profit company. So they make money when you don't do well and you continue to buy their medication. A lot of people in general, not just in this country, suffer from cognitive dissonance. And they're like, but they say they are good. Okay, you understand how they make money, right?
Right.
Like, they're not driven by altruistic reasons. Like,
Right.
wake up.
Yes, it's not meant for you to stop using it.
No, no, and I'm glad you say that, Nachi, because I don't want people like, my goodness, Damaris and Nachi are such radicals. Like, they don't want say no to drugs. I mean, yeah, you should be saying no to drugs. There's a time and a place for medication. I'm here for it. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
great.
Yes.
But I personally am not here to live by that medication and to use it as in some form for sustainability. Like, that doesn't work for my body.
Right.
My
Right.
body naturally is inhospitable to foreign agents. So viruses do not thrive in me.
Hmm.
No, illness does
Like
not
they
thrive in me
die. They die before they even reach me.
because I've trained my immune system. That's something that I will share with our listeners in the future of what we do. But yeah, no, 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 they don't. And I mean, and real talk, pharmaceuticals are the largest legal drug cartel.
Yep.
And people may be like, Damaris, that's harsh. They're not a cartel. I know. I know you guys are
You
like,
have these
what's
big
this voice that?
families.
Wait, I know people are like, what is this voice that she makes? That's the voice that I hear in my head. But Damaris, let me read to you, Nachi, the definition of cartel: an association of manufacturers or suppliers with the purpose of maintaining prices at a high level and restricting competition. Sounds about right to me.
Yeah.
Sounds about right to me. So, yeah, no, cartel.
There's no lie told there.
Yeah, cartel.
That
Which,
definition
which,
is fitting for them.
yes, which leads us to the partner of said cartel. Who do you think that partner is, Nachi?
The partner.
Would
The,
be the FDA, the Food and Drug Administration of the United States of America, y'all. It's kind of
That
funny
is
how
more
like FDA is responsible for not just drugs but food.
food. And that's the other
Mm, mm.
the other component to
Guys, you need
our
to listen
health.
to our big food episodes. Mm. It all makes sense. But they are responsible for the approving and licensing of drugs in the good old US of A. Another three-letter agency that's like another four-letter word. But no, right? So it's interesting because I came across these infographics of the process in which the FDA approves said drugs, which I'm going
Mhm,
to link to because
mhm.
it's actually amazing to look at. When you see the steps, it's kind of nuts. But there's a series of steps that the pharmaceutical company goes through in terms of actually getting drug slash vaccine approved through the FDA. And it starts off with animal studies and then ultimately into clinical trials in humans. The animal studies come up first, but ultimately the clinical trials is what helps determine if something is safe and effective, all that, and to also ensure that it does what it claims to do, and there's a health benefit to it. So, as I mentioned already, the testing first happens in laboratories on animals, then ultimately they put it out to humans in clinical trials. Now, the clinical trial can take years to complete. But then, which was weird because the FDA, this is on the FDA infographic and on the site, it says, however, once research has shown that the drug is safe and useful, the FDA typically reviews and either approves or denies an application for a new drug within 6 months. But if a clinical trial takes years to complete,
Right.
and
How do they turn around and approve it 6 months later?
how do they determine if it's safe and effective if it's only been tested on animals and in the lab first, and the clinical trials are like a series of years? It's like it
Right.
starts with 100 people, then like some 500, then 1,000 people. But they say that this is um, they can essentially approve or deny an application within 6 months.
Mm,
Again, to me, it's like the cognitive dissonance of like accepting this at face value and not understanding how real talk this last medical crisis.
right,
Understand you're in a clinical trial.
right.
Y'all, let me get this infographic up because I think you need to understand Nachi. Yeah, so Nachi, the first phase of a clinical trial includes 20 to 80 healthy volunteers. This phase one emphasizes safety. Then the second phase is 100, and then the phase three is in the thousands. Y'all in the clinical trial. Good luck with that. Let me stop. No, I'm just saying, this is no disrespect to anybody who was part of the clinical trial that occurred in 2021 to present day.
Right.
I'm just saying that understand when the FDA is explicitly laying out exactly their process. Understand that operation, what is it? What was it called? Warp speed. That
Mhm,
operation to come up with a vaccine for said illness was 4 months.
mhm,
It was like from
mhm.
August to like December, and it's like, oh, we got something, guys. We're gonna roll it out in January.
Right,
Wait, what?
right.
What are
Yeah,
the clinical trials?
yeah.
And so again, it's medical freedom. Like if you wanted to be a part of it, that's all good. Like I don't care. My point is just to share with you about that.
Mhm,
The interesting thing, I've always wondered about, well, why isn't it that, because you and I, since we go to a naturopathic family doctor, we take in a lot of natural supplements. And I always wondered, well, why don't they do these studies that are done for the FDA, that the FDA provides these approvals because there are clinical trials and studies that are provided to them by said pharmaceutical companies. Why don't they get the same things for supplements? Because supplements, you'll always see the label that, oh, it's not FDA approved,
right.
whatever, blah,
Yeah,
blah, blah.
yeah.
And so I learned it's because you can't patent natural elements, which is kind of beautiful, right? So
Yeah.
nobody can say, this healing property of plant X, I'm going to patent it. No.
Mhm.
What pharmaceutical companies do, because a lot of the underlying compounds and makeup of these pharmaceutical drugs is that they were based off of the healing properties of plants. So what they do is they create synthetic versions of these properties, and
Mhm.
that's
Mhm.
how they make the money because they can patent that, right? And so they're willing to pay for the research to do this because they know they can make more money in the end because they can
Right.
patent this drug and make billions of dollars. So I found that all interesting. And so people should be thinking about that when it comes to, okay, well, there's likely some natural plant or herb derivative, something, some property that can probably help usually your ailment because that is the underlying,
Right. Because
you
they're
know,
pulling.
right, what that was created for that pharmaceutical drug.
Yeah.
But what's also further interesting is this idea of what they call a revolving door with FDA employees and pharmaceutical companies.
Hmm.
And I've mentioned this before about literally you have people in the public sector working for the FDA, reviewing drugs, and then moving
Being
into,
part of the board.
yes, be working for a pharmaceutical company, right? And not to say that there's anything inherently wrong with that, but again, put your thinking cap on. Let's think critically. For example, Dr. Scott Gottlieb, he was commissioner for the FDA 2017 to 2019. And then he moved to serve on the board of Pfizer 2020. There was a big event that happened in 2020, right, Nachi?
Yes. Yes. A big
Okay.
one.
And Pfizer was part of something even bigger in 2021, right?
Yes.
Delivering
Yes.
something.
Yes. Yes.
Anywho,
Very big. Very big. Very big.
not saying that that was planned before people were like, oh my God, you were a conspiracy theorist. No, I'm just saying that the whole idea of you literally was commissioned for FDA. Now you're now you're on a board for a company that's spearheading this one particular vaccine that will wholesale bring them in billions, billions upon billions of
Mhm.
dollars.
Mhm.
So your level of connections at the FDA is going to be invaluable, right?
Of
I
course.
mean, you're going to tell me that you did not talk to your old colleagues in FDA? I'm not saying anything nefarious or illegal happened. No. The point is that there is nothing right now that's stopping people from doing that. And you just have to naturally think, and somewhere in the back of your mind, that could it be your career goal that you somehow work on the other side of the table? And if you felt that way while you were working on the public side, like the FDA, did that change how you chose to regulate what came across your
Mhm.
desk?
Right. Yeah.
Does that influence? I don't know. But those are things and questions we should be asking ourselves and be
We should always
considering.
be at. Yes, we should always be questioning. It's okay to question. I think
People are afraid
it's
because they were hammered in 2021 and 2022. How dare you question the authority? What? Who's the authority? The government and Big Pharma? You telling me what I need to do? I can't think for myself?
right.
Not gonna
Right.
happen. Not on
Right.
my watch. See, I have to calm down. I have to calm down.
Calm down.
Not on my watch. Not on my watch.
Mhm.
For me, you, to our listeners, to anyone, respectfully, I want you to do whatever it is that you feel comfortable doing. This is not what we sharing today is not by any means intended to sway you to not take medication or to take medication. I frankly don't care. I care that you do what is right for you. That is what I care about. What you end up doing, it is not for me to have. I don't have skin in the game on that. But I certainly have skin in the game for myself and for my
Right.
family.
Yeah.
So I'm going to share and I'm going to try to influence as much as possible, one way or another. But for me, I am anti you telling me what I should do with me.
Absolutely.
And y'all should all be anti anyone else telling you what to do with you. To me, that's a no-brainer.
Right. Right.
When
Right.
the government says jump, I pack more things in my bug out bag. I already told y'all. I'm not I'm not
Like, wait a
asking
minute.
how high.
What they're trying to do here? I need to figure this
The
out.
minute
What's
the
going on?
minute they like, we want you to take this. Wait, what? Okay, actually negative.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'm excited to share. Like, this is what we shared tonight. Is really 1,000-foot view, right? It's so high level, barely scratch the surface. But these are all things that I'm hoping people can just sit with and understand the lay of the land when it comes to these private companies that are publicly traded but are not government entities, and their engagement with government agencies. Connect the dots. Understand where money flows. Yes, yes, some of these medicines actually do good for people, and especially with rare diseases and stuff.
Right,
But
right.
I don't take that away from pharmaceutical companies. But by and large, that's not where they're making the bulk of their money. And also, you have to think, if you don't take your own health into your own hands and take care of the vessel that the Creator has given you, then you are putting that power in someone else's hands. And I'm saying, think about that.
Yeah. And it's a combination of things. It's just what you said. You have to take control of your own health. And it's not just taking supplements, because you can't take supplements that it does not take the place of everything else that you need to do, like eating the right foods, moving, exercise, doing those things. It's a combination of all those things that's going to help you take care of yourself. So you have to look at that and how that plays in your life, and looking at, okay, I'm being prescribed this, and I'm, from a personal experience, when I had surgery, I had a hysterectomy several years ago, and my physician prescribed this hormone replacement. And I asked him, I said, well, how long am I supposed to take this? He said forever. That didn't sit well with me, because I was
Fuck
like,
out of here.
forever?
Forever, forever, ever.
Why would I take this forever? That made no sense to me. And I'm not gonna lie, I did it for a little bit, because I was like, well, let me just take it, because until I figure out what to do and understand what my body actually needs, because I don't think I should be using this medication for the rest of my life. That and the whole, number one, I probably shouldn't have had the surgery, but that's a whole other
Mm-hmm.
topic and
No,
conversation.
like when
But
talking about this topic, there's like the whole medical industry that is
mhm,
separate from this, that it requires its own multi episode. But yet, and
yes,
that's part of it.
yeah,
Always wanting to take your fucking organs.
yes, yes,
Quick to
and
take
that's
somebody's organs.
very quick, very quick. And if you're not knowledgeable, and again, I wasn't knowledgeable in that sense of, okay, well, I had trust in my physician, and I knew I wasn't planning to have any more kids, but I didn't understand the effects of
The
having
impact.
that, having my uterus
Mm-hmm.
removed, how that was going to impact me.
Mm-hmm.
Had I known, and had I done the research and found an alternative method of taking care of my uterus, I don't think I would have needed to
Right.
have that surgery. But I did, because I trusted my physician. And I said, well, okay, I'll do this, because I want to be here for my
Right.
kids. Right? Because that's how they get you.
Yeah,
They put
it's
this fear in you. They use the
it could
closest
turn into
thing to you.
XYZ. It
Right.
could become fatal. And then you're like, okay, well, I got to do
Well, I don't
something.
want right. I don't want that. I want to be here for my
Yeah,
children.
obviously.
But and we're in Florida a couple of years ago, and I had this extreme stomach pain. I don't know what was going on, but it was just so bad that I couldn't even get up.
Yeah.
And this was during the pandemic, and I was with Damaris. I was like, Damaris, don't let me go to the hospital by myself.
Yeah, that was
Damar-
without saying.
Damaris met me there,
I know they
And
wouldn't let me ride the ambulance with you.
yes, but they let you come to the back, which was
Yes,
surprising at that
yes,
time. Then
yeah.
and I this lady, no lie, she was like, "Oh, you don't have a
Mm.
sonogram, but if this pain continues on tomorrow morning, we could just remove your gallbladder." What?
No,
What are
it
you
is something sinister.
you are tripping.
Why are y'all obsessed with
Hell no.
somebody's organs?
But the extreme pain that I was in, and if my sister was there, I didn't want that, but my sister was there as well. And she knew I didn't want that. But if I didn't have someone, I could see someone in extreme pain being like,
Yes,
you know what?
yes.
Yeah,
Do
take
what
it
you gotta
out.
do. Do what you
Take
gotta
it
do.
out. Take it out. I don't care. And if you remove your gallbladder, there's a it impacts you severely. You
Yes,
have
and they
to
make it
deal
seem
with
like it's a light it's just like, "Oh, it's just an extraction of this one organ that
right.
doesn't really do a lot for you." No.
No.
Everything your body is a miracle. It is a system that it is a well-oiled machine.
Yes.
Everything has a purpose.
Yes.
Do not believe the hype. Do not fall for the banana in the tailpipe and think for 1 second that, oh, one organ, as small as it may be, is inconsequential. It is very consequential.
Right. But I know I sidetracked a bit, but
But it was a good
going
story.
back to the medication, the
Right.
prescription that I was given. Yeah, we go
Back to
down
the
there.
topic.
Yes, because we'll go to make go off on a tangent and
I mean, this is why I said like we could do so many episodes on so many branches of this one topic.
okay. But the whole idea of just said, no, you'll have to take this for the rest of your life didn't sit well. Just for you all to know, I don't take that medication. I took it for like a year and then I decided I ain't taking this
Praise
shit
God.
anymore.
Praise God. Praise God. Praise God.
This is not worth it. I could do other things and I have. I'm not using that because I'm not taking something that you're telling me that it doesn't make any sense to me. It makes no sense to me because you're saying because I'm going to be going through menopause, like I'm going to be literally thrust into menopause. So here is this medication to help you with the symptoms of menopause. Okay, if I naturally went through menopause, I wouldn't be
You'd
taking
still
this
have to go
medication.
through it. Yeah.
I wouldn't be taking this medication. So why are you having me take this?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll figure it out,
Yeah.
which I
Yeah.
did.
And yes. And praise God you have. And you are good. And so this is what we want to leave our listeners with is ultimately food for thought. The idea of we share this information with you guys for awareness. This is not to make you scared or to trigger you to make one decision or another. Everyone's situation is unique and different, and you need to consider that for yourself. We share our stories because this is why we think what we think, and we know we're not alone in what we've gone through. So if this resonates with you, fantastic. If it doesn't, fantastic.
Right,
um,
whatever works with you,
you
rock
know, I
on.
will be okay, and you
Mhm.
will be okay too.
Yeah,
But know that we love you no matter what you decide to do, whether you're in the clinical trial or not. Let me
stop it. Your mother's
fucking with y'all.
your mother's in the
Mommy's
clinical
in the
trial.
clinical trial. Ay Dios. No, no, but we love you guys, and we know that this can be a controversial topic for a lot of people, and people could feel strongly one way or another and get unhinged. We're not unhinged, and if you get unhinged by what you're hearing, then you should reflect on why you're so triggered. So ultimately, we want to close out as we always do. There's a lot of noise out there, but our message is consistent. Stop getting distracted by the smoke and mirrors, tune out the noise, and focus on your divine purpose in life. Vibrate higher to elevate your frequency. And always thank you for listening.